Are you new to the events world or maybe thinking about getting into the event industry and you're curious about where to start? Well, I'm going to share a couple of my go-to tips as someone who's been in the event industry for the last 8+ years about how you can get started on the right foot and maybe not waste your time doing some stuff that I wish I knew when I was first starting. I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based here in Seattle, Washington, but I execute events here and around the world. I do want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell so you get notified every single Monday when I drop new videos. I'm also the co-host of the Better Events podcast with fellow event pro Mary Davidson, and we drop new episodes every single Wednesday wherever you listen to podcasts, especially for this video. If you're someone new in events, we have so many good episodes about how to book your first event, how to book a client. Once you have the client, what happens next? Just some freelancing 101 questions. And it's very, very helpful. So highly encourage you to go give it a listen. Again, we're on all major podcast platforms, the Better Events podcast. Well, hi friends, you're here. You're someone who's either in the event industry and maybe just wondering what else you can do to level up, or you're brand new. And I got this question from one of my followers here on YouTube who just was asking, what do I do if I want to break into the events industry and I don't have any experience? Like, where do I even start? And I really love this question. And I did direct him to my podcast because we have several episodes about this. But I wanted to share some key takeaways that I feel like come up for me again and again when I have these conversations with either new grads or people looking to transfer industries or anyone trying to get their feet wet in events. And one of the cool things about the event industry is there's no degree for events. There are some colleges that offer you a degree in events, but if you look around in the industry, you'll actually find a lot of people in events didn't go to school for event specific things. And so that can be really fun because that means anyone can get into it, but it can also be really intimidating, like you don't know where to start. And so my number one tip if you're trying to get into events is to just get experience. And so this can look very different depending again on where you are financially. I first got into events in college, and I was exposed, I guess, to events in college where I worked at a country club as a banquet server. So I was the person helping pass hors d'oeuvres, drinks, set up tables and chairs for any weddings or events that we had at this country club. And it was really eye-opening for me. And I will say at the time, I didn't realize how formative it was, but it was really helpful as I started getting into events that I was calling back to things I experienced or witnessed as a server. So that was a great way, just literally like getting into it and making money while I was doing it. Another alternative, if you have the privilege to be able to volunteer or shadow someone in events, the event industry is so big. Like it is just, there's so many different niches, so many different roles. Like you don't just have to be a planner, or you could be a planner who specifically only does fun runs, like charity runs, raising money for charities via these runs that people do, like physically running on the road or on a track or at a venue. Like there are people who specialize in that. There are DJs that I work with in sports that are sports DJs. So they're technically in events, but they're DJs who DJ at sporting events. Or you're a photographer who maybe just does weddings or just does headshots or does a little bit of everything. Like the event industry is so big. So get experience, whether it's paid work or if you can do volunteer work or even shadowing, because volunteer, you're actually, getting put to work and actually helping and physically doing things. But you can also learn a lot from shadowing and like getting just to see behind the hood of what's happening behind the scenes. And the more you can do this and try out different roles, try out different structures of the team you're on, that'll help you just start to narrow down what you like and don't like. And my pro tip always for anyone who's trying to who's new or trying to gain experience is to make sure you note down. Like I write physical notes, or if you type it on your phone, but like take note of what excites you about what you're doing, but also take note of what bothers you or what you don't like, because sometimes you can use the don't like list, especially if there's a lot more don't likes than do likes. You can use your don't like list and flip it around. So if you don't like massive events, big thousands of people events that really stresses you out or freaks you out or something there doesn't work for you, maybe you want to do those smaller, more intimate events. And there's so many of those out there. They aren't just social events. They have even companies that have 3,000 person conferences also do, incentive trips for maybe only 30 or 40 people. So you could still work with similar clients, but it's just very different events of what you like doing. So get that experience, try things out, My like worst case too, and I still do this to this day, where I will attend events as an attendee and then try to see who's behind the scenes. If it feels appropriate, sometimes introducing to myself to those people behind the scenes and asking them some questions and just starting to see like, okay, who are the players? Who are the people running around? Do I like what they're doing? Do I like going to this event as an attendee? Would I want to work this event one day, or do I just want to do it as an attendee? Like, that's how you can kind of gain that experience. And then my other big tip is always just to start networking. And networking has a bad rap, I feel like, because it feels so transactional. But when you are new, there is nothing better than just talking to people, just reaching out. LinkedIn's a great place. I know when I first started, I was doing LinkedIn and emails and just reaching out to people who were doing the projects that I thought at the time I wanted to do, and just trying to get 20 minutes with them. My biggest advice is not just to say, hey, so-and-so, I'm Logan. I want to pick your brain. Does that work for you? It's too broad. It's too open. Most of the people you want to work with are pretty busy. And so I often would have a very targeted outreach of just, hi, so-and-so. I loved or noticed you worked at this event, and I would love to hear from you about your experience there or your journey to that role. Do you have 20 minutes in the next week or two for a phone call? Or if it was someone in Seattle, sometimes I'd say, do you have 30 minutes to meet up for coffee? I'd love to learn more about you. And I keep the focus on them. It's very specific. Like, I've done research on a sentence of what led me to them. And then I'm keeping my time frame of 20, 30 minutes. And it's not saying it has to stick to that, but you're just being cognizant that you're asking for free advice and free time that maybe these people don't always have. So make sure you're reaching out to folks. And I also don't get discouraged. You're going to reach out to so many. I feel like when I did it, I had maybe 10% of the people I reached out to got back to me. But from that 10%, it was really helpful to go and talk to everybody and get their different perspectives on what they loved about events, what they were doing at the time. And honestly, you could apply this, I guess, to any industry you're trying to get into. But it is so worth it for following up with people or reaching out. And then there's my teaser. And then follow up with them. Like, if they offer to let you look at your resume or recommend you for an event or have you volunteer at their next event, follow up. It is on you as the person who's new and trying to break into the industry to own your journey. You need to be the one doing the follow-up. I still to this day have a long list of folks, a physical list I have here in my office that I look at, and on a weekly basis, I try to reach out to one or two people from that list, mainly just to remind them that I'm here and something I saw reminded me of them, and just checking in to see what they're doing. But that is a way that I grew as I first got into the industry, and I have cultivated those relationships throughout my career, and they've led to other projects or me being able to refer work or just a great friend. You honestly never know where those leads are going to come from, and that's a positive. Well, those are my two big key takeaways, mainly just making sure that you get the experience and your networking, and hopefully there's a little nugget in there for you to help you grow your career as a new event professional. As always, you're welcome to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or through my website. I always love talking to people, but I just take my advice when I say have that very targeted outreach of exactly what drew you to that person and what you want from them, because I'll make sure that you get a response. I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based here in Seattle, Washington, executing events in Washington and all over the world. Thank you so much for joining me for another one of my videos about event production, running your own business, Zoom, hybrid event production, you name it. We've got a video about it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.